Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And welcome back to another Should You Pull video, where I give you reasons why you should be pulling for certain banners and also giving you reasons why you should not be pulling for certain banners. In this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the level 70 Awakening banner that includes Cait Sith and BALTHIER's EX in one banner. Now there is another banner that is included in the level 70 Crystal Awakening batch 6. However, this video will mainly concentrate on this banner just for the sake of not making this video very long. In any case, we have a lot to go through and I still have a lot of videos to edit and record. Let's get on with this video. So we'll start this video off with the leading man himself, BALTHIER's EX, called Vega. Now this will give him the EX ability called Fires of War. Fires of War is a 3-hit AoE range Brave plus HP attack. This will moderately raise the Brave damage dealt to a single target. This also has a 100% splash damage to all enemies and will remove all the debuff on himself. This will also randomly steal one buff from the target and extends its duration by 1 turn, and will grant him the unique buff called Snatch for 6 turns. This extends the duration of existing buffs as well by 1 turn. So Snatch is basically will raise his attack and max Brave overflow limit while lowering all the enemies' attack and max Brave. This has a normal recast speed, and at 1 out of 3 limit break, this will just increase the Brave damage dealt of Fires of War. At 2 out of 3, it will increase the recast speed of Fires of War, and at 3 out of 3, it will give him access to his HP attack plus, which is a 1-hit range Brave plus HP attack, and if Way of the Sky Pirate is active, this will also grant it additional 1 stack. Now let's take a look at Vega Plus, or the realized version of Vega, whatever you want to call it. I still don't know which one I would go to, but in any case, this will improve the EX ability of Fires of War, and at 0 out of 3 limit break, when using Fires of War, this will now slightly increase the Brave potency and will get you a max Brave overflow of 120% for Fires of War. At 1 out of 3 limit break, this will slightly raise BALTHIER's max Brave and will moderately increase his attack. And at 2 out of 3 limit break, when the quest starts, he will start off with 1 stack of Way of the Sky Pirate, which has a max 3 stacks, and Snatch as well for 6 turns. And finally, at 3 out of 3, when using Fires of War, this will increase the number of Brave hits to 5 and will increase the total Brave potency again, and will slightly raise the max Brave overflow limit once again. And the bonus sphere that you're going to be getting if you max this out is called All Break Bonus Up. After the party member breaks an enemy, this will raise the break bonus gain by 50%. So what do I think of BALTHIER's EX and EX Plus weapon? Well, the nice thing about this EX weapon is you don't actually need to plus it in order to gain access to the HP attack plus. But obviously, if you're a big fan of BALTHIER, you will end up plussing this weapon. And honestly, there's not much difference from what we have been getting in terms of what an EX Plus does. It basically adds more damage, longevity, and of course less ramp up time for those people or characters that rely on stacks and unique buffs. So in all honesty, it's nothing really special, and nothing really great. However, it's not to say that it's actually a bad weapon. I actually like this weapon a lot because it does give you 100% splash damage as well, so that has one thing going for it, which a lot of I would believe a lot of other players would agree that you want that 100% splash damage more than just like that split in half, and you know, it's more damage. That's just what it is. He is still a selfish DPS and a dispeller, and this adds more to that kit because now he can steal more buffs and extend their duration even with just using his EX ability. Okay, now let's take a look at Cait Sith EX weapon called Battle Trumpet. This will give him the EX ability called Dice. Dice is a 5-hit AoE melee brave plus HP attack. The brave potency, however, is based on the value of the 5 dice rolls. This moderately raises the brave damage to a single target, and the stolen brave can overflow up to 150% of his max brave. The damage, however, is split equally amongst all enemies and will grant him the dice unique buff, or frame buff I should say, for 6 turns. Dice raises the party's initial brave and grants brave regen to the entire party as well. This has a slightly slow recast speed, and at 1 out of 3 limit break, this will increase the brave damage potency of Dice, and at 2 out of 3 increasing its recast speed, and at 3 out of 3 will gain access to his HP attack plus, which is a 1-hit melee brave plus HP attack, and will raise all the allies' brave based on the HP damage dealt. Now let's take a look at the plus version of this weapon. This will obviously improve the EX ability of Dice. Now when you're using Dice, it will moderately raise the total brave potency, and again raising its max brave overflow limit at 0 out of 3 limit break. At 1 out of 3, it will slightly raise his max brave and attack, and when the quest starts, he starts off with the Dice buff for 6 turns. In a 2 out of 3 limit break, when the quest starts, he will grant everyone a medium max brave up, a small attack up, and the cheerful gift frame buff. And this will last for 6 turns, so this is actually really interesting. And at 3 out of 3 limit break, when he's using the Dice EX ability, this will now greatly raise the total brave potency and will moderately raise the max brave overflow limit once again. And the bonus sphere that you're going to be getting if you max this out is called Buff Boost All 3. When 3 or more buffs are active, it will raise the party's max brave by 5%. So now let's take a quick look at Cait Sith's rework, and honestly, it's not much of a rework. It's a slight rework where he now has 2 extra uses on both his abilities, and now Toy Soldier will actually trigger an HP attack after you use it. It does not need to be 100% of his max brave before triggering, which is kind of nice, but there's really nothing else. I was hoping there would be a lot more when I was looking into this, but I checked all his Crystal Passive 54 all the way to his 60, and I didn't see anything else. So if I did miss something, please let me know down in the comments below, because I am recording this before the actual patch for his rework goes live. So when I'm checking all this, I didn't see anything else. So if it is just a minor rework, that's great. That means the information I'm giving you guys is what it is. But if I did miss something, please leave down in the comments below and let me know, and of course help out the community as well. But in any case, let me give you my thoughts on Cait Sith's EX and EX Plus weapon. And honestly, it's not much difference from what we have gotten already, and as I mentioned before on BALTHIER, it just gives him less ramp up time. You know, you get access to his plus versions straight away because of all the buffs that he provides, and you know, you get all the buffs at the start of the quest. It's all generic stuff I think at the moment it feels like this is what all the EX pluses that we've had previously. And of course, the nice thing with Cait Sith EX Plus is having access to all these buffs at the start of the quest. He is the very first one, I do believe, that gives out like all these buffs at the start of the quest to the entire party, mind you, not just to himself, to the entire party. So you get the medium max brave buff, a small attack up, and the cheerful gift unique buff as well. So these are all nice little additions. That this means, again, as I mentioned earlier, you will have access to his plus version straight away, because you basically will have like 9 buffs up at the start of the quest, which is really nice, or more than that actually, because you do get the dice unique buff on Cait Sith as well. So overall, I do think this is a really nice EX plus weapon. This means you don't have to use your abilities on your other characters in order for you to generate buffs for them. You can probably just go straight to the HP attack plus, saving you some ability usage and saving them for the last boss. So now let's take a look on how much should you invest on these EX plus. Now I'll start off with BALTHIER. I do believe starting at 2 out of 3 limit break is actually the best way to make him viable, because you do gain access to 1 stack of his Way of the Sky Pirate. This means you basically just need to use one of his abilities, and make sure you can actually break the enemies, of course, in order for you to get the max of 3 stacks of Way of the Sky Pirate. All you have to do is use his skill 1 ability, and hopefully you break the target. That means you get 2 stacks of Way of the Sky Pirate, and that way basically he's maxed out. And you do get that snatch, which is a aura buff, and sorry, not an aura buff, it's more of a buff to himself, and a aura debuff, which is really nice. It lowers the enemy's max brave and their attack as well. Now obviously, as I mentioned multiple times, once you get to 2 out of 3 limit break, when the max hits, you know, you might as well just go 3 out of 3. It's not really overly necessary. You can skip on the 3 out of 3 if you really want to. This just increases more his attacks and obviously his potency and overflow limit for his EX. It's not that overly exciting, but if you want that extra damage, you're more than welcome to actually go for it. But in all honesty, for me, 2 out of 3 limit break, probably my minimum and max for BALTHIER. I'll see how I go actually with this one, and then see how much I like his kit. But I did like him beforehand, so we'll see. But that's just for me personally. Okay, now let's take a look at Cait Sith. How much should you invest on this? You guys already see it anyway. I don't really mess around. So minimum for Cait Sith, at least in my opinion, you should start off at 2 out of 3. The main reason for this is, 1, you do get the dice ability, the dice buff at 1 out of 3, and at 2 out of 3 you get all those buffs for the entire party. That means you don't need to use Mog Dance at all, and you will all have access to your plus versions for Cait Sith. All his abilities will be plus, because you will have enough buffs for everyone for it to trigger. So this is nice, so you don't have any more ramp up time. And of course, at 2 out of 3, you actually slightly raise the recast speed of dice once again. So this is actually pretty nice little buff. It sort of makes it on par where BALTHIER is, because it starts at slightly slow, and then it gets a recast speed at the normal EX, and then now it gets another recast speed. So I do believe it's somewhere around that ballpark. And of course, look guys, I know the max limit break here is kind of debatable, and the same thing can be said with BALTHIER, as I mentioned earlier. You don't really have to go to the max with Cait Sith, but seeing as you already invested at 2 out of 3, if Cait Sith's your favorite, you might as well go the extra mile and add that 1 little ingot, so you get that little purple icon for your weapon. And not only that, it actually, I do believe, when looking into it, that because Cait Sith EX relies too much on RNG, sometimes the damage is not what you want to be, and increasing the total brave potency of dice will generally help you at least, you know, to get to a certain point where the damage is not too bad. So going the 3 out of 3 route, or route, whatever you want to call it, is not a bad choice. So I would say minimum 2 out of 3, and if you really love Cait Sith as a character, you might as well go that extra mile and go 3 out of 3. Okay guys, so we're finally at the end of this video, so I should give you the reasons why you should be pulling for this banner and why you should not be pulling for this banner. As always, we'll start off with why you should be pulling for this banner, and the first reason is you need a Brave Battery / Dispeller in your party compositions. Now, I'm gonna have to say this because there's a lot of different Brave Battery options out there already. So if you are just missing a good buffer / Brave Battery that can also heal, sort of just like what I guess Agrias does, she does heal a little bit, and if you need something along those lines, then Cait Sith is probably a good option. Especially he does give out a lot of Brave Battery, a lot of different buffs. However, most of them are generic buffs as well, so you do have to be careful about that. In BALTHIER is actually a very nice dispeller as well, but again, we have had a lot of those, but if you really need one, then BALTHIER is actually not too bad of a dispeller. The next reason is you just need more characters for Dimension's End, and this is going to be something that is going to be ongoing. So if you think you are needing a little bit more extra characters, then by all means you pull for this banner as well. And of course, if you're a big fan of any of these characters, then by all means pull for this one. Favorites are something that will keep you playing this game, so you might as well go for your favorites and pull for them. Even though they're not superly good, a lot of these characters are all chaos viable, so it is more down to the party composition than anything else. Okay, so now let's take a look at reasons why you should not be pulling for this banner, and the first one is, just like I mentioned earlier, and why you should be pulling for this. You should not be pulling for this if you already have a lot of different options in terms of the buffers, dispellers already. We have quite a lot. We had Fairies and we had Lilithset previously, and now with the ultimate banner alongside with this banner, you have options with Sarah and Vanille as your debuffer / dispellers. So if you already have a lot of those, then you probably should not be pulling for this banner. As long as you have enough characters for Dimension's End, there's really not much of an incentive for you to actually pull for this, unless they're your favorites like I mentioned earlier. Sarah is a good debuffer and also a Brave Battery. The only thing she doesn't do is actually heal, and Vanille can do the same thing as what Sarah does, but she can also dispel. So just keep that in mind if you are planning to pull for this banner. The next one is, obviously, you want to save your resources for the Emperor. He is coming towards the end of the month, so if you really want the Emperor and you really want a meta character, then just wait for Emperor. And finally, if you're not a big fan of these characters, then you can go ahead and skip this. Like I said earlier, if you have favorites, it's what keeps you playing the game. So if they're not your favorites, then by all means you can just pass on this banner. Anyway guys, I think that's the end of this video. I didn't really want to cover, like I mentioned earlier, the other banner because there's no EX Plus there. Plus, this video will be very long if I'm gonna cover like 4 different characters. But in any case, Let me know down in the comments below what you think of these two characters. Are you planning to pull for this? And remember to click like and also subscribe. It's to help my little channel to grow, and of course help with the YouTube algorithm as well. So make sure to follow me on my social media. I am on Facebook and on Twitter at Munchkins Gaming. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me there, and I'll try my best to answer you as soon as I can. Anyway guys, this is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.